I would compliment you on the fact that books of yours have actually motivated the younger generation to, come back to literary pursuits. Uh, but I think for their benefit, I would again like to ask you a little bit about your initial phase of writing, maybe coming into writing, and and some significant things which would be useful for the younger generation for
Sure.
their motivation.
You know, Neil Kamalji, you yourself are a writer, and so you know what it takes to actually write. And a lot of people ask me, what does it take to be a writer? I said, well, the first step is to start writing. And because there are a lot of people who think about writing, but they don't actually take that first step to start writing. In my case, my background and upbringing was an entirely business-oriented background. My family is a business family, and my mother is a Bania from Kanpur,
Oh, wow.
and my father is a Marwadi from Jodhpur. So in that sense, that was a deadly combination. It was taken for granted कि ये गद्दी पे बैठेगा और काम पे लगेगा. I mean, that was pretty much the approach कि भाई एक बार पढ़ाई हो गई, लिखाई हो गई, MBA कर लिया और उसके बाद काम पे लगो. And uh, during those growing up years, the common factor that was running through my growing up years was actually my Nanaji, who lived in Kanpur. He was not my real Nanaji. He was actually my maternal grand uncle. मेरे नाना जी के जो बड़े भाई थे, he lived in Kanpur, and he was very fond of reading. So he had this approach of sending me a book every week to read. And he would say, बेटा देखो तुम तो बनिए फैमिली के हो, तो तुम लक्ष्मी जी की तो पूजा करोगे ही करोगे, पर एक चीज मैं तुम्हें बता देता हूँ कि बिना सरस्वती के लक्ष्मी जी भी खुश नहीं होती हैं, बिकॉज लक्ष्मी जी हर वक्त क्यूरियस होती हैं कि सरस्वती कहाँ गई. तो अगर तुमको लक्ष्मी की भी पीछे जिसे कहते हैं, अगर तुम्हें लक्ष्मी जी की के पीछे पड़ना है तो सरस्वती के पहले पीछे दौड़ो, तो ऑटोमेटिकली तुमको लक्ष्मी जी खुद ब खुद आ जाएंगी. एंड देन ही यूज्ड टू से कि देखो हिंदू अपनी जो हिंदू माइथोलॉजी है उसमें एक ही ऐसे डेटी हैं, एक ही हमारे ऐसे भगवान हैं जो लक्ष्मी और सरस्वती के बीच में विराजमान हैं, और वो है गणेश जी. जब लक्ष्मी और सरस्वती साथ बैठती हैं तो गणेश जी उभर के सामने आ जाते हैं उन दोनों के बीच में. So I like to joke that probably my physical figure is a lot like Ganesh ji because of the fact that my life has been devoted to trying to keep these two Devi Jis on either side. But growing up, Nanaji sent me almost about 300 books. And he would require me in a week or 10 days to send him a chitti in which I would tell him what I liked, what I didn't like, what I read, what I didn't read. And somewhere along the way, I think, and you can probably understand this being a medical researcher yourself, my brain was getting hardwired. The circuitry of my brain was getting changed. So I went for my MBA. My background is not in literary pursuits. It was completely in business and finance. I went to America, finished my MBA. I came back. I started looking into the family business. And then for the next 15 years, it was an uneventful life. But then one fine day, I suddenly realized that this is not what I want to be doing. And that is when the very first book, The Rosapal Line, started taking shape. And I was so worried at that time that how my family would respond to it, because, they had, in India, we still have this cultural baggage. I mean, either you are an engineer, you're a doctor, you're a CA, you're a businessman, you do something which can earn you a living. You don't become a writer overnight. And so for the first book, I didn't even tell anyone that I was writing that book. Only my wife knew that I was writing the book. When the book was published, it was published under a pseudonym because I didn't want my family to know. So it was only after I got success with that first book that I was willing to come out into the open. So I think if there is a writer in you, if there is a storyteller in you, then you must do whatever it takes in order to make that happen. And I think that is the biggest takeaway.